dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew? It's your boy DJ Nuke, your girl.
Sierra Nicole.
Back on the channel, man. Mr. Ballen, the insane true story of cocaine, the blow, bear.
I'm not.
Bro, if you've been on the channel and actually really watching the videos,
Child.
you should know about the blow.
The blow.
At this point, you know what I'm saying? If you ain't, I get it, you know what I'm saying? But if you a true, you know what I'm saying, crew member, you know about the blow.
They gonna be like,
You know?
okay.
Oh man, which we all know the movie. It's out now, right? Cocaine Bear.
Is it? Yeah, right.
It should
Came
be
out
out
on the third. What's today?
It came out what last Friday?
Last Friday, child. Well,
No,
I guess
I can't keep up with my own life, let alone keep up with somebody. Yeah, released on the 24th.
Oh, okay.
So it's out already.
It's all right.
We've seen a lot of bear craziness on video, not in person. We live.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm just fine. I ain't saying nothing.
Those who know or those who don't know, we live in Tennessee, so we understand the bear country out in East Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Those who go to Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, y'all understand. You go to the cabins, make sure you lock your doors. Don't freely look. The bears will come up and open your door and run through your car.
Facts.
They just ain't at the point where they pulling off and driving your car. Trust me, they getting close. Bruh, like we done seen a video where they literally go up, stand on and open the car door.
Yeah.
They are advancing. So
Not they advancing.
bro, when did you ever think you would see bears walking up to a car, mosey on long, stand up on their hind legs, look in that motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? Hey man, with that being said, make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go, man. You want the first part, you gotta do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's video,
Like it with a thumbs up.
you ain't never had a bear encounter in Gatlinburg, have you?
No.
Alright.
I haven't.
It's been a while since I've been, so.
Yeah, it's been some years since I've been.
Alright, let's go. Let's check it out, see what it's about.
In the winter of 1985, a large American...
Pad, please. You know what time it is. If you don't, sorry. But we gone.
In the winter of 1985, a large American black bear was wandering through a forest in Georgia when it saw something strange lying out on the forest floor. Interested, the bear wandered over and began pawing at it and slashing at it, until finally the bear ripped this thing open, and immediately this strange, flowery smell filled the air. Less than 10 minutes later, that bear would experience something that literally no other living thing on Earth has ever experienced. And that is just the beginning of one of the strangest stories that's about to take the world by storm, because a major motion picture has been made about this bear that's going to be released in February of 2023. But before we get into this totally bizarre story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please offer to make the like button a ham and cheese sandwich, but don't unwrap the cheese slices. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into...
Hold on, it's the ham and cheese sandwich cold or warm? If it's warm, you got a cold slice of cheese. You gotta unwrap a cold slice of cheese. You ain't gonna want that shit. But if it's cold, you know what I'm saying, you'd be like, fuck, just unwrap,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
today's story. In early December of 1985, in the Chattahoochee National Forest in northern Georgia, a hunter was very carefully making his way through the trees trying to track a deer. Now, this hunter had been tracking this deer for over a mile, but it had been a while since he had seen any signs of it being anywhere nearby. And as this hunter continued to creep along, he became increasingly aware of how loud each of his steps were, because the ground all around him was covered in dry leaves, and so every step he was taking was creating a loud crunching sound. And so eventually this hunter just came to a stop and decided stalking this deer was totally pointless because he was basically scaring it away with these crunching sounds as he got closer to it. But before this hunter was ready to just give up and head back to his vehicle, he continued on a little bit further, and when he pushed through this particularly dense brush area, he saw this clearing up ahead. And the second he saw what was in this clearing, he froze, took a step back into the brush, and then ducked down behind a rock. Because in that clearing, he saw an animal, and it wasn't a deer. It was a huge American black bear. Now, generally speaking, American black bears are not aggressive towards humans. However, if, for example, you were to accidentally sneak up on a black bear, like this hunter had done, and you suddenly startled it by just showing your presence, the bear might react by pouncing on you and ripping you to bits. And so this hunter, with his back pressed up against the rock and his rifle gripped tightly across his chest, he's thinking about that and wondering what he's going to do to get out of this situation. At first he thought, okay, I'll just stand up and quietly walk away. But then he remembered how loud the leaves were, and even though he had been lucky walking in, he hadn't alerted the bear to his presence, on the way out, he was worried he wouldn't be so lucky, that those leaves would alert the bear to his position. And so the hunter began thinking, okay, well, what if I just stand up and start shooting at this bear? But the hunter knew the big issue with that plan is he had a deer hunting rifle, which is not nearly powerful enough to quickly take down a black bear, if at all. And so if he starts shooting at this bear, there was a very good chance that the bear would just turn around and maul him before he was able to put the bear down with his rifle. And so as this hunter is going through these scenarios behind the rock, he realizes something. He hasn't heard this bear at all. Now, bears in general are very loud animals. Just their regular breathing is so guttural and noisy that you can hear it a pretty good distance away. And the hunter's thinking to himself, I can't hear it breathing, and come to think of it, I haven't heard this bear once since I've been near it. And so the hunter very carefully stood up from behind his rock and turned around, and then he kind of peered forward into the brush, looking back into this clearing, and when he spotted the bear again, he realized immediately the bear was dead. The bear was kind of slumped forward, and its body almost looked like a deflated balloon. The hunter was so relieved, he almost started laughing, and so he stepped out from behind his rock and he made his way through the brush into the clearing to get a better look at this bear. And when the hunter was right over the top of this bear looking down at it, something immediately struck him as very odd. This bear was far too young to have died of natural causes. However, after this hunter kind of poked and prodded the bear and lifted it up on either side to try to look underneath it, he couldn't see any visible injuries. It was like this bear had just randomly dropped dead. But the hunter didn't spend much time thinking about what happened to this bear. Instead, he thought to himself, there has to be some sort of logical explanation for what killed it. And with one last look at the bear on the ground, the hunter turned around and began the long walk back through the woods back to his vehicle. It would turn out there was an explanation for what happened to that bear.
I thought the bear was finna get up. I said, man, what if this bear just pop up out of nowhere?
Be like, gotcha.
I was finna shame, bro.
To his vehicle. It would turn out there was an explanation for what happened to that bear. However, it was anything but logical. But to get to that non-logical explanation, we first have to go back in time. Around 11:30 p.m. on September 10th, 1985, so 3 months before the hunter discovered this dead bear, two pilots were flying their little 6-seater Cessna airplane over northern Georgia, making their way north towards Tennessee. And as these pilots flew along very casually, they suddenly intercepted over their radio a voice message that they definitely were not supposed to hear. It sounded like other pilots communicating with each other, and what they were talking about was how they were now going to follow this little Cessna airplane that they could see that was currently flying over northern Georgia. Now, radio traffic like this can only really be intercepted if your radio that's doing the intercepting is physically close to the person doing the transmitting. And so knowing this, the two pilots in this little Cessna knew that whoever was talking about following that little Cessna, they had to be talking about them, the two pilots in that Cessna. Now, for most pilots, if you suddenly overheard a radio transmission that your plane was getting followed by some other pilots, you might reach out to those pilots and say, hey, why are you following me? What's going on? Now, the co-pilot of this little Cessna might have wanted to react that way. However, before he could, the main pilot stopped him and said, I actually know exactly why somebody might want to tail us, and unfortunately, we're both going to have to jump out of this plane. Before the co-pilot could really even react to this news, the main pilot had set the Cessna on autopilot, which sets the plane to fly in a straight direction going at a constant speed at a constant altitude until either a pilot comes back and takes the craft back over, or if it just stays on autopilot, it eventually will run out of fuel and crash or run into something. And so after the main pilot had done that, he turned to the co-pilot and gestured for him to come with him into the main cabin of the aircraft, basically the main body of the craft where all their luggage was. And the co-pilot, he's so confused about what's happening, he's so panicked that he just follows the main pilot. So the two of them, they climb back over the two front seats, they go into the main body of the craft, and the main pilot begins strapping parachutes onto some of their luggage. And as he's doing this, he tells the co-pilot to open up the side door of the plane. And so again, the co-pilot is just so caught off guard, he has no idea how to handle this, and so he reaches over and he slides open this door of this moving plane. And as soon as he did, this huge rush of cold night air blasted inside of the cabin, and it became so loud from the howling wind coming in that the two pilots couldn't even talk to each other. And then the main pilot just began pushing the luggage out of the plane just into the night, falling straight down to the ground far, far below them. And at some point, the co-pilot just joined him and began pushing the luggage out of the plane. And then after all the luggage was out, the main pilot shoved a parachute into the hands of the co-pilot and said, put it on. He had to gesture for it because they couldn't hear each other. And so as this co-pilot's struggling to get on his parachute, the main pilot puts on his chute, and then right after the co-pilot has just barely got his parachute on, the main pilot pushes him out the side of the plane, and then the main pilot jumps out after him. So they basically abandoned their plane, which was still set to autopilot, so at some point, it was just going to crash. About 5 hours later, in a suburb of Knoxville, Tennessee, an 85-year-old man named Fred Myers was just waking up. Fred always got up before sunrise. It was part of his daily routine. He would wake up, he would get dressed, he would wash and shave his face, and then he would sit down and read the local newspaper. This simple routine was actually very important to Fred because recently he had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, which is a progressive disease that destroys memory. And so having this sort of set routine helped him manage his symptoms. Basically, at least in the morning, he could go into autopilot and go through this routine and not get confused. However, on this particular morning, something would happen that would leave Fred more confused than he had ever been in his entire life. Fred had made it to his bathroom, he had washed his face, and he had begun shaving when out of the corner of his eye, he...
Man, don't tell me the plane crashed into wherever he's staying at. Like, that is... Because when they said, they sit on autopilot, I said, all right, sit on autopilot. Why y'all just didn't get rid of the dope? You know what I'm saying? If you had dope in there, just get rid of the dope. I guess you have to make them round too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What would you have done if you was in that situation? You I wouldn't even been in this
situation.
But
you said
put
if I was
yourself
in a situation.
Would you have just abandoned the plane? Because you don't know what damage this could
just because...
Well, people be selfish when they...
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. I'm about to say personally no, because I do try to think about the aftermath of things, but I guess they selfish. They just I gotta save myself and save the product, and so
F whoever gets hit by this plane.
Yeah, but
bathroom, he had washed his face, and he had begun shaving when out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something strange outside in his driveway. He could see it through a nearby window, but it was still so dark outside, Fred couldn't tell what this thing was out there. And so feeling very curious, Fred put his razor blade down, and he made his way over to the window to get a better look. And when he reached the window and looked out at his driveway and saw what this strange thing was, he could not believe his eyes. There was this huge parachute out on his driveway, and on the parachute was the main pilot of the Cessna. After the main pilot had pushed the co-pilot out and leapt out himself, when he pulled his ripcord, his chute either didn't deploy, or when it deployed, it didn't inflate fully, and so he was forced to go to his reserve chute, but it didn't inflate fast enough to stop him from crashing into the ground. And so the main pilot slammed into the ground, basically at terminal velocity, and so he sustained catastrophic internal injuries, and he died within a couple of minutes of hitting the ground. Fred was so stunned and confused at what he was looking at that without saying a word, he just turned away from his window and walked over to his phone and called the police, shaving cream still on his face. When the police arrived at Fred's house that morning, they were expecting to see a dead recreational skydiver on Fred's property. But when they walked up the driveway and saw the dead man for themselves, they knew right away this was not some recreational skydiver. He actually looked more like a soldier. He was wearing a bulletproof vest over some camouflage fatigues, and he had night vision goggles strapped to his head. But the dead man's shoe choice made the police think this guy could not possibly have been military, because on this guy's feet were not military-style combat boots like you would expect with the rest of his getup. Instead, he was wearing loafers, specifically Gucci loafers, so very expensive designer shoes. And so the police are thinking to themselves, who the heck was this guy and what was he doing? Right. The police would figure that out. However, first, we have to fast forward 2 months to late November 1985, so roughly 2 weeks before that bear was discovered by that hunter in Chattahoochee National Forest. Now, at this point in late November, that black bear was alive and well and living a typical black bear life in the Chattahoochee National Forest, which meant he mostly spent his time wandering around the woods looking for something to eat. And on this particular day in November, the bear was doing just that when out of the corner of his eye, he spotted something strange lying on the forest floor. It was one of the pieces of luggage that the two pilots had pushed out of their plane. It was this big, heavy duffel bag. Now, the bear had no idea if this duffel bag contained food, but the bear was optimistic, so it meandered its way over and began pawing at the bag with its massive claws, and pretty much immediately, his claws tore open a hole in this bag. And suddenly, the air all around this bear was filled with this glorious, flowery smell, so the bear put its nose directly into this rip in the bag and began sniffing and licking the contents of this bag. And apparently, the bear just loved it because it ate whatever was inside of the bag. All of it. And when he was done, the bear felt so good, he was so full of energy that he just started sprinting in a straight direction. And after running at top speed about 100 yards, every major system inside of this bear shut down all at once and he died on the spot, collapsing in that clearing. And then, about 2 weeks later, that hunter walked into the Chattahoochee National Forest and discovered this dead bear. And then, within 24 hours, the hunter was back home and he told one of his friends about discovering this dead bear. And when he told his friend about seeing this bear, he also kind of casually mentioned that he had seen a duffel bag in the forest not far from this dead bear. Now, to understand what this friend did next, you need some context. By this point in time, the police had actually figured out a lot about that dead man on Fred Myers' driveway, the main pilot of the Cessna. They knew he was a 40-year-old man named Andrew Thornton who had served in the U.S. Army as a paratrooper, but after getting out of the service, he had kind of gone astray in his life and become a big-time smuggler of illegal goods. The police had also figured out by this point that Andrew, along with a co-pilot, had been the people flying that Cessna that eventually was found crashed into a mountainside in North Carolina. The co-pilot had survived the jump out of the Cessna, and so the police tracked him down, and they very quickly realized this co-pilot was really just a victim of Andrew. Andrew had told this guy they were just going to fly to the Bahamas for a vacation. And so when that plan completely evaporated, and suddenly Andrew is
How you gonna tell him you going, but y'all flying? Because y'all was headed to Tennessee, but the plane crashed in North Carolina, so technically it's coming up. Or did y'all go to the Bahamas and and got the drugs and was bringing them back?
Possibly, but...
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, possibly.
Like, where y'all going or where y'all coming back?
Coming back. Yeah, good question.
For a vacation. And so when that plan completely evaporated, and suddenly Andrew is barking orders at this guy to open up the plane and push the luggage out and jump out, the co-pilot said he just totally panicked and just started doing whatever Andrew wanted. And so this guy was just totally terrified, and really all he could offer police was just to confirm that, yup, Andrew was the main pilot, and yes, we really did push his luggage out of the side of the plane over some forest in northern Georgia. The police believed the co-pilot and did not charge him with any crime. The police would go and search all over northern Georgia, and they would find the majority of the missing bags. However, they knew they were still missing some, and they knew they really needed to recover them. And so, around the time that this hunter is telling his friend about this bear encounter and this duffel bag, the police were constantly having news outlets tell people in northern Georgia that if you see one of these duffel bags attached to a big parachute or something, please come forward and tell us. We are looking for these. And so the hunter's friend thought, you know what? That duffel bag he mentioned out in Chattahoochee National Forest, which is in northern Georgia, might be one of those bags. And so the friend called authorities. Authorities were thrilled to get this tip, and so they charged out to the Chattahoochee National Forest, and they made their way out to where this dead bear was, and then sure enough, about 100 yards away from this bear was this bag, and it was one of the bags they were missing. Except the bag was empty. Because, as we already know, that black bear had eaten everything inside of this bag. And as you might have guessed, that bag, along with every other bag that had been cast out of the Cessna that night, was full of cocaine. Because Andrew was a drug smuggler. And on the night he and his co-pilot leapt from the Cessna, he was trying to smuggle 900 pounds of cocaine from South America into the United States. That transmission that Andrew and the co-pilot suddenly overheard on their radio as they were cruising along in their Cessna was the sound of federal agents within the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency who had been tipped off about Andrew's big drug run, and so they really had sent 2 planes to go follow him and potentially intercept him. And so the authorities standing in the Chattahoochee National Forest looking down at this empty duffel bag had no idea where the cocaine went that was supposed to be inside of it. But on a hunch, they decided to bring the body of the dead black bear back with them and perform an autopsy on it. And sure enough, during this autopsy, the medical examiner would open up the bear's stomach, and the examiner would say the stomach was, quote, packed to the brim with cocaine, thus ending the mystery of how this bear died. It died from a massive cocaine overdose. But the bear's story did not end there. Normally, after an animal is autopsied, they are cremated. But for some reason, this medical examiner decided not to do that, and instead he had the bear taxidermied, and then he gifted this taxidermied bear to the Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area. And then from there, the bear changed hands many times. Over the next 2 decades, no one knows exactly who had the bear and for what reason, but there were reports that at least at one point it was stolen from a storage facility, and then it was sold at a pawn shop, and then at some point the bear was in the possession of famous country singer Waylon Jennings, and then finally the bear found its forever home. Today, the bear is on display at the Kentucky Fun Mall in Lexington, Kentucky, and around its neck is a placard that reads, Cocaine Bear.
Wow.
So that's going to do it. If you got something out of today's episode and you haven't done this already, please offer to make the like button a ham and cheese sandwich.
Yo, this story is crazy. Crazy, wow. Does this make you want to see the movie now?
I do want to see the movie.
Yeah.
I do want to see
I was like, because I would like to see how they reenact the story. and make it and bring it to light. Cause I thought the friend was gonna run over there and try to go get some. I ain't gonna hold you.
What thought the friend was gonna what?
Try to go out to the forest and see if he can find some more bags.
Oh, I thought that he was like, alerting them because maybe. Well, I thought because he was trying to get like an award or something. That's what I was thinking. I didn't think he was talking about getting a. I guess I don't be thinking
like the cocaine can.
I guess I don't be thinking like that, but
I would have.
You would have went. Child.
Hey, you know what's in the bag?
Yo.
Cocaine music.
Stop. No.
You know what I'm saying?
You wouldn't even know what to do with it.
You would not know what to do with it. I would find somebody who know how to do it.
My goodness, no.
I'll be like, well, hold on. How that rap song say? Put some baking soda whipping in a pot with.
No.
Got some cubes of ice.
We do not condone that. No.
You got a mason jar.
No.
You got a crack rock. I'm telling you, we up. Just make sure I got a mask. We got plenty on. COVID.
Stop.
I don't know, but this does make me want to watch the movie just to see how they reenact everything and how they actually bring it to light. Because where were y'all taking the drugs? Were y'all actually headed to Nashville? I mean, not to Nashville, to Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's a lot of drugs in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like every area has a lot of drugs in it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I'm pretty sure. I guess that's where they were headed because they had the survivor, the co-pilot, so he was able to let them know, like after they came from South America, where they was headed to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But you had 900 pounds. That's a lot of cocaine.
A lot, child.
And then, so technically, y'all had already been to.
Yeah, they had already
South
been
America and was coming
back, bringing it back in.
And Andrew, I wonder how long did y'all know that he was involved in some type of drug business, or did y'all just
did they just get the tip
and it was like, all right, let's
hop on this and do what we need to do.
I ain't gonna lie, he was smart. He was smart though. Unfortunately, he died.
Yeah.
I would have if I'm flying a plane and I hear some stuff like that. I'm dumping the bags. And then to be real, and it's at night. So y'all probably don't see us dumping the bag. Yeah. Because y'all didn't expect to get that close where we can hear y'all.
Right.
So on top of
y'all wouldn't be expecting to be looking down for bags dropping.
You know what? He couldn't just drop the bags and stay in the plane. Somebody expecting their work. You can't just drop
that too in the end.
So you had to jump out and try to collect the bags.
If you just abruptly land the plane, they're going to... You know what I'm saying?
Something,
so you had to kind of do what you did.
And then if you land there, you don't go back. Who knows who gets your product?
Right.
So you had to abandon the plane as well
and jump out and do what you did, because obviously they didn't see none of that. They just continued to follow the plane.
Yeah. So
sadly,
and sadly you flew from over the. That's a long. That's a long, well, not that long of a distance from Knoxville to the border of Georgia. It ain't that far, but it's still quite a distance from where y'all dropped the bag and where your body lands. That's still a distance, though. But it ain't too bizarre far. But that's crazy, bro. Like you should have took time. But he was trying to jump. Well, he was trying to hurry up and jump out the plane. So he could be able to jump in the same vicinity that the drugs.
Bags, yeah.
So everything he did to technically was smart.
Yeah.
Except for rushing himself out the plane. I would have. You said what?
I said, yeah, I guess.
I would have just put the only thing in that situation. We would have put on the parachute first, strap in, dump the bags, and then as we dumping the bag, we hopping out.
Yeah.
Because. Dumped it, and then you trying to hurry up and put this on.
Everything on a rush.
Yeah. That cost you your life.
Sadly,
it was quick thinking, but I think it was just too quick of a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you telling me you wouldn't have tried to go out there and get the drugs?
Huh?
If your friend came back and told you about a bear, let's go out.
No.
You would not have went out
What
there?
am I gonna do with it when I get him? No, I'll be too scared to even ride back with him. No, I'm good.
If you get pulled over, just say, "Hey, we were trying to bring this back to the precinct."
Because we was out here doing some hunting.
We was out here doing some hunting, and we came across a dead bear. We just wondering and then we came across the bag.
Let me tell you this.
Got an alibi.
Let me tell you this.
The alibi is I'm hunting, and I discover something.
Okay, but let me tell you this: with everything that happened, and it's already like the police is already aware that some things are going on. Yeah, that may work in your favor, but if nothing, is going on, and no one is aware that this happened, if he never like died or whatever from the parachute not malfunctioning or whatever, and I'm just riding and y'all pull me over, y'all not gonna believe that.
But the thing is, he probably wouldn't even have known. He wouldn't even have known that there was any.
Yes, I'm hypothetically speaking.
I'm saying without them talking about it in his head, he wouldn't even put two and two together that all the drugs might be out there. So technically, if y'all are reporting about it, for me to even think in that hindsight, there might be some drugs out there.
Long story short. No, I'm not. Because you ain't talking about turning nothing in. You talking about doing something else.
But if I get home, make it home, say,
what are you going to do with them?
Hey, Pookie, I need you. I need you to go get Peanut and whoever else you with. I need y'all to pull up. We hit them all.
Can you trust Pookie and put Peanut?
9 times out of 10, Pookie and Peanut your cousins.
Oh my God.
9 times out of 10, they the first cousin we grew up. I'm just the one who went to college.
I'm not.
They stayed in the street.
No, I'm good.
Hey, I'm telling you, bruh. Hey, we.
So once all that's gone, you just go get your little money out.
So you telling me if you find $100 bill laying out in front of you, you ain't gonna pick it up?
$100 bill and that amount of drugs is two different things.
It ain't the whole 900 pounds. They got some. This just the leftovers.
Baby,
that they ain't got.
It was a lot of that was the real duffel bag, but I'm thinking of a duffel bag in my head.
Oh, they showed a duffel bag.
That was the real one?
Yeah.
That was the real one?
Yeah, it had showed the duffel bag.
Well, I seen the duffel bag. I just didn't know if it was the real one or not.
Yeah, it was the real one.
Did it say real? Real photo of... Oh, okay. You see how that bag is stuffed?
Hey, partner, you take one, I take the others. Hey,
I'm not doing this with you, and I'm not condoning this behavior.
A couple pounds, bruh. hey, we hit the ball low. We racking up.
And then once all this go, you done. Cause then you go get caught up in there. You go like, I gotta find a way to get some more. That fast money looking good. No, we're not doing that.
What you got, man? You know what I'm saying? I got two 15s in the bag. You know what I'm saying? What you sitting on? I'm sitting on them 30 things, bro.
That's all. That's what you gonna do with the money?
Gotta, man. You see that crib, bro? Everybody, how you get so much money, baby? Don't worry about it. You worry about yourself. Don't worry about me, baby.
I do not condone this. No, this is just no.
But this does make me want to go. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, and I hate that start with the old man because you threw off his whole routine. Really don't know if he was able to get his routine back because unfortunately he did have Alzheimer's.
Well, I will say this. Luckily, he landed where he landed because ain't no telling how long it would have been before somebody found him.
If he landed in the woods, it probably would have been a long time.
Yeah, because I'm wondering how long was it? Did the co-pilot alert? Like, did he?
Where he land?
Yeah, where did he land?
I need more details about the co-pilot though.
Well, obviously he didn't care about the drugs because he didn't go back for him. So
he didn't know. That's
what I'm saying. So we know that he ain't,
Yeah, he ain't no criminal.
From the looks of it, he ain't have no involvement in it like that. But
I would blame everything on Andrew too, though. He did it gone.
See,
because let's be real.
Let's just wrap it up.
Let's be real.
Cause you own something. You own something.
Let's get rich. That's all I'm saying. Everybody else rich. Why we can't get rich?
Let's do it the right way.
The highway. Hit the highways. Hey man, make sure y'all spell what's up in the comments. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts and opinions. If you've seen Cocaine Bear already, y'all let us know if it's well worth the watch. Is it well worth, you know what I'm saying, going to check it out? Did you enjoy it as well? Y'all let us know in the comments section down below. But as always, I do go with the name DJ New Kiddans. We are.
Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money low, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.